All right, everyone. Well, now that we officially have a quorum, I would like to officially call our meeting to order. Do we have any folks in the hallway?
So glad you're here.
All right.
I'm sorry to interrupt here, Melinda. If you just, I just want to make sure that the audio is coming through on
Okay.
the streaming. Oh.
Okay. Now that we're officially called to order, will the secretary please do a roll call?
We have Xavier Hay, absent.
Jose Hernandez,
Present.
Jennifer Kipp,
Present.
Dan Lehman,
Present.
Samir Malone,
Present.
Tom Schreiber,
Present.
Benny Spencer,
Present.
Rick Switolski is absent today. I am here. And then our newest member, Janon Berard, present. Great. We have a quorum.
Fantastic. Well, now that we have officially done a roll call and have quorum, I would like to just go ahead and open up with some remarks and then jump into the agenda that we have set. I want to first and foremost thank you all for being here with us today. As Chair of Urban Forestry Commission, I want to express our gratitude for those of us who are joining this afternoon in person and watching online. Your presence and engagement is invaluable to the work that we do. And just to provide a little bit of guidance dedicated to advising the mayor and city council on policy regulations that enhance our tree canopy and the vibrancy of our neighborhoods. As outlined in our mission, we are committed to providing strategic advice to help implement best practices, fostering the growth and maintenance of Cleveland's urban tree canopy. Under the purview of UFC, our duties encompass a wide variety of responsibilities, including assisting in the adoption of urban forestry management planning, maintenance, a comprehensive inventory tree plan, offering recommendations on policy and plans, and monitoring the implementation of citywide initiatives. And so we thought that this was going to be a perfect opportunity, especially with this being our first commission meeting of the year. And even more exciting, we have one of our new appointees joining us just to provide a little context and preface of what the duties of Urban Forestry Commission are. And so this outlines our key function, the first and foremost being assisting with the adoption of the urban forestry management plan, which we're really excited about the opportunities to do that in the upcoming year, providing recommendations on policy plans and programs or legislation, reviewing comment on program or work-related protection to the enhancement of our urban forest, providing collaboration on implementation, so working recommendations to best reduce tree loss, and then our monitoring of progress, which is monitoring the implementation of city plans and policies. So I thought that the executive committee, we thought that would be great for us to just kind of recenter ourselves. One more slide. There we go. Recenter ourselves in the duties of commission. Yes, also outlined in our ordinance is our assistance in preparing educational programming to encourage proper maintenance, soliciting of grants and funding contributions to our tree preservation fund, monitoring penalties paid into the tree preservation fund, which is all supported by the ordinance, assisting the Director of Parks and Recreation in preparing an annual report, which we will talk a little bit more about during today's commission meeting, and any other duties requested by the mayor or city council. Fantastic. Well, now that we have gone over that, I'd like to go ahead and move us along to unfinished business. I'm going to turn things over to Vice Chair Kipp and Secretary.
Quickly, I'm going to jump to the approval of minutes. We just received a couple small clarifications from Rick's today. For clarity, just in terms of wording, referencing the PROAG guidelines. And so I made those edits. Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
So moved.
All in favor?
All in favor?
All
in favor, say aye.
Great. Meeting minutes are approved.
All right. Thank you, Secretary Zaremba. And thank you, Brittany Montgomery, for advancing the slides for us today. All right, Chapter 509 updates. So Chapter 509 are the codified ordinances in the city of Cleveland that covers all things trees. And so I know our chair of the policy committee, Tom Schreiber, will probably have more to expand on in his committee. Wanted to provide this update of some internal conversation I had with our new director of the Department of Parks and Recreation, Alex Nichols. She started in November and we were able to sit down on December 11th. I just was able to update her on the progress that the policy committee made. The key takeaway from that meeting is that we have Director Nichols' support to perform the research. Additional research that Director Nichols requested is that we look at our peer cities, which they are listed below and also listed in the Parks Master Plan for the city of Cleveland, and just take a deeper dive and looking at tree penalties in our peer cities and do a comparison. After that, we'll do a markup of a Word document that has the existing Chapter 509 language with tracking changes for any additions and omissions that we'd like to see based on the research that the committee's already done. And then once we've done those steps, we'll request review and comment of our proposed changes to Chapter 509 to Director Nichols for approval. Any questions or discussion on the Chapter 509 update? Okay, thank you. Next slide, please, Britt. Okay, this is, we're kind of revisiting what I went over during the October 2024 meeting, is the tree and sidewalk policy update. This is just an, again, kind of a refresher, as that right now the options that we have in the city to avoid damaging the supporting and anchoring roots of trees on tree lawns is to reduce the sidewalk width, but currently we don't reduce it beyond 48 inches. If we cannot reduce it, we will request an easement from the adjacent property owner. If so granted, then we will be able to put the sidewalk partially on their private property. What we're hoping to accomplish with this new policy is to be able to make exceptions to the 4-foot sidewalk width. And the ProWAG, it's listed down there, the public right-of-way accessibility guidelines are what are being adopted kind of on a national scale. And those ProWAG guidelines allow 4 exceptions to be made. We just have to make sure that they are, well documented when those exceptions exist. Next slide, please. So the image on the bottom right is also kind of a callback to the October meeting, is this is the kind of damage that we want to avoid, because this will destabilize the tree. So the next steps for the policy update is myself, the policy committee just met, I think, was it last week? And I said that I would draft the appendix for the tree assessment or revise one that previously was submitted by Chair Schreiber. Then we would review the appendix at the next policy committee, finalize the draft of the entire policy, which is, I believe it's a 2-page written document plus the appendix, and then vet it internally with Director Nichols and Director DeRosa. Director DeRosa is the director of the Mayor's Office of Capital Projects, and he oversees the engineering and construction of all the sidewalks. So we'd like to get their review and comment. And then once we have that, we can meet again in the committee to review any changes that they propose. So those are next steps. Those are not a complete list of next steps, because I think what we're learning is that as we go, those next steps are kind of presenting themselves as we go through the existing steps. But the goal is to adopt the policy before sidewalk construction season begins. Well, that is weather dependent, but it's typically for our climate, mid to late March. Any questions or discussion regarding the tree policy update, tree and sidewalk policy? Okay.
Thank you. These new microphones seem pretty great too. I don't know. I just wanted to add that this has been a great discussion thus far, and I really appreciate that the policy committee is having the discussion. My one concern is that the easement process needs to be robust, so that the image in the previous slide depicted sidewalk encroaching on someone's private property in order to give that width for the root flare for the tree. And part of the barrier that the city has been experiencing is difficulty reaching or getting a response from property owners. So I don't want reducing sidewalk width just to be the automatic, oh, that was too hard, now we're going to reduce sidewalk width, because I have a section of my neighborhood with 3-foot sidewalks, and it is not ideal. So I think this should be considered, this is a really important discussion, and reducing the widths to 3 feet should be a last resort. So I think there's a little more work to do, but I'm really grateful that this important discussion is underway. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thanks for the comments, Councilmember Spencer. Yeah, absolutely.
I have another question too regarding ProWag. So I am not really sure when it really applies according to the city of Cleveland, or if that's been discussed yet. But if we're talking about a sidewalk repair as opposed to a replacement, would ProWag still apply, or would the sidewalk be grandfathered? I mean, if it's just a couple of blocks of a sidewalk, do those have to be 4 feet wide when the rest of the sidewalk is only 3 feet?
Mhm.
Is that what the city is going towards?
That's a great question. I wish our Rick Switolski,
Was here.
our head of engineering construction. Yeah,
So maybe we can
I
note
think
it as part of the
Yeah,
The
we can note
minutes
that as
and
part of our additional
get
subcommittee.
get an answer on
discussion.
that.
that's a great question. Yeah. Other discussion about the tree and sidewalk policy? Okay. All right, next slide, please.
Can you advance the slide?
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, we are going to revisit another topic of discussion from the October Urban Forestry Commission meeting, talking about some revisions to the rules and regulations. We have some printouts as well for your reference. The additions that we've discussed in between the October meeting and this meeting are highlighted in yellow. So all of the non-highlighted content on the sheet are things that we've already agreed on and discussed. But these couple of additions are in reference to or responding to one concern that Councilwoman Spencer brought up around documenting the public comment process and making sure that it's clear when public comments have been responded to and that they're visible in the same way, whether they're presented verbally at Urban Forestry Commission meetings or online. And then also in terms of meeting notification, which is in response directly from a request to the Mayor's Office of Communications from the Cleveland documenters to provide more advanced notice of the subcommittee meetings. So both of these new revisions are under the meetings article. In terms of in terms of the meeting notice portion, we discussed that committee chairs will be responsible for providing meeting notice to the executive committee, and then also our communications liaison from the Mayor's Office of Sustainability at least 10 days prior to the meeting's occurrence, so that there's enough time for posting and review and enough notice to give members of the public at least a week in advance in accordance to the rules that we follow for the Urban Forestry Commission public meetings. So making that consistent with the subcommittee meetings and the public committee meetings as well. So the notice would include an agenda with the meeting location, time, and a virtual link. And the Office of Sustainability will post the notice 7 days in advance of the meeting, similar to posting the agenda for the public quarterly meetings as well. We've also agreed that the meeting of the committees cannot take place unless this advance notice, these requirements are met, either to ensure that we're giving members of the public who are interested in listening into the sessions, not necessarily providing the public input, as that's not the role during the committee meetings, giving them the chance to listen in and participate, in their own respect. We also determined that establishing an advanced calendar of committee meetings would make it a lot easier to ensure that we're able to provide notice in a timely manner. So establishing a meeting cadence for the year seems like a good solution for that. And we discussed wanting to have a calendar or cadence of meetings set generally by the end of January so that we can be prepared for the next meeting and be able to provide members of the public advance notice. We also would like the meeting cadence to be included in the committee charter, which are all under a creation currently and adoption. And the information after the committee meetings have been held will be published more formally once it's adopted. So the committee members will record meetings and record minutes in accordance to the Roberts Rules of Order format, which we follow anyways for the Urban Forestry Commission quarterly meetings. So this will all give us the ability to communicate better with people who are interested in learning more about what the Urban Forestry Commission does and be able to be a little bit more transparent with the meetings that occur as a part of the commission. Are there any other questions or concerns with this? Yes.
Thank you.
So this is something that are we being asked to vote on this today, or this is proposed and to clarify, we're being asked to take action on these proposed changes today as a commission? Is that the idea?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm not clear about the feasibility. So first of all, the word meeting cadence, I want to make sure I understand. I'm not sure it's feasible, just sitting from my perspective as budget committee chair. Things come up, you need to have some ability to be flexible in the calendar based on new matters that may arise that are unforeseen, first of all, but also my job by its nature is very unpredictable. So I would actually be very hesitant to set a committee schedule for the entire year in January. I think that the 10-day notice requirement solves for that by making sure that any meeting of a committee is posted publicly 10 days ahead of time. I think operationally it would be difficult for me to commit to a year's worth of committee meetings. I think cadence implies that each committee should meet for example, at least at a minimum of one time in between each quarterly meeting of the full commission. But I don't know if anyone else shares my reaction to that. I'm a little hesitant to do that and then just have to reschedule or, post an amendment and so on. So I'm not sure that is something that I would be supportive of at this time.
I agree with you. I mean, it'll never happen. So no point to set us up for failure because we can't possibly schedule, months, months in advance. Things change, people's schedules are fluid. So I think I agree with you.
What I would like to possibly offer as a solution is that although we know that things are subject to change because of just the nature of the work that we do, that we're going to have to make pivots and dates, but it would be great for us to at least establish, similar to what Commissioner Spencer noted, that at least we have a cadence of we are meeting one time at least in between and then setting the date for that. I think that it allows for there to be at least a marker on the calendars for commissioners to be able to carve out when they're going to be able to participate. I think it also allows the public to know, and if that cadence has to change, then it can be subject to change. But I think that there is some use to at least setting a marker on the calendar of when a subcommittee meeting is going to take place. And again, it can be adjusted as needed, but I think at least setting some type of cadence where they're meeting once in between each quarterly each quarterly full commission meeting, and then having that set on the calendar as far in advance as possible. That's kind of the rationale behind, but again, open to understanding that might not be feasible. For example, your schedule where it may be subject to change even more frequently than those of us other commissioners. But I do think that it would be a benefit to at least having those in-between meetings set on the calendar, so people can kind of begin to carve their attendance schedule out both for commissioners and for the public.
This is, thank you. This isn't the end of the world. This is not a huge deal, but I just want to note that a placeholder dates can be set, but I think very much so they would be subject to change. And so this is heavily formalized, putting it into the charter of each committee and so on. So I think establishing that each committee has a requirement, a minimum requirement of meetings per year is very important, if that's not already noted, and I thought it was already in our bylaws. But I mean,
Yeah,
okay.
uh,
I'll be
I don't
fine with
offer
that.
support for commission member Spencer, and as a committee chair, it is extremely difficult to schedule these meetings already. It's really time consuming. I'll mention that we're all volunteers on this commission, and getting people's schedules to line up is very difficult. I think I applaud the transparency of pushing our advance notice to 10 days. And I think that in the interest of transparency, we should all look to exceed that. I think that should be a minimum and not something that we're relying on. I'll seek to do better as a committee chair of providing advance notice, but it is really difficult to schedule people. So I share the concern of formalizing that.
Can I just make a few comments about, so question first to Councilmember Spencer, I heard you initially, one of your comments was like, it would be really hard to establish what the meetings are for the year by the end of January. So my question is, would you like some more flexibility around by, a certain time of year? So that's not the issue as much as the issue is you need to maintain flexibility. And I'm hearing the flexibility is kind of a theme with the current chairs. Okay. So one of the things that I'm concerned about, maybe let me take a step back. The work of the commission happens in the committees. And that's what our chair reminds us of over and over again. I think that meeting once in between each meeting is not enough. Like, I would like to see us meet more frequently as a whole commission. There's so much work that we have to do. We already have like 2 years kind of under our belt. And we did a lot of growing and a lot of learning that I think we need to increase the number of meetings of the committees between the quarterly meetings. So maybe just a suggestion would be 2, right? If it's 1 now, for example, at least 2. The second point is if we do have, I totally appreciate being a member of all committee meetings, that it is very time consuming to try to rally everybody around a certain day or time. So wouldn't we be solving that by establishing the meetings by the end of January? Then everybody's schedule is already known. We don't have to do any ad hoc or on the fly, does this work? Does this work? Here's a doodle poll. It would be established and there would be placeholders, right? Just, I think Jenny used that word, put a hold on the calendars, understanding that life happens and there may be a need to shift. So those are my comments.
If I may make a suggestion, and again, just a suggestion, but perhaps the issue is just having this establishment done once a year, as opposed to maybe doing it quarterly, where you decide, first quarter, this is when we're going to have the meetings. Second quarter, this is when the meetings are going to be. Maybe that would be more helpful for people that have a full schedule or that whose schedule fills up more quickly. Just a suggestion.
I think
Or a shorter time frame.
Yeah. Thanks, Jose.
I was reiterating, I think that's a good suggestion, especially to kind of temper some of the hesitation around scheduling out too far in advance, especially knowing that, after about a quarter of activity, your meeting schedule or your availability is severely subject to change. But again, this is all, we can continue to have conversation and workshop this. This isn't a finite. This is just us giving a potential solution to feedback that we've just received about notification of subcommittee meetings.
Thanks. Yeah, and again, I think everybody recognizes that the intent behind it is to encourage more participation and to, improve our transparency.
Yep.
Not that we are in any way trying to hinder it.
At
It's
all.
like we are an open book and we
If-
want to make sure that everyone,
If
You
you
know-
all find that what is being suggested is like absolutely kind of inhibiting your ability to be able to properly run subcommittee meetings, then we absolutely can be amenable to the suggestions or take in any additional suggestions that you all provide to us.
I think Jose's suggestion kind of nicely captures the need for flexibility while having the need to have a more predictable format for the committee hearings. So I would support that.
thank you.
So I'm hearing potentially establishing a meeting cadence quarterly, and then providing notice to the mayor's office of sustainability and executive committee at the very least 10 days in advance of the meeting occurring so that it can be publicly made available 7 days in advance. We'll give Britt at least 3 days at the very, very bare minimum, since she's got a lot to do. And that sounds like a good compromise to the committee chairs. Okay.
I'd also like to propose an addition is to have language in here if the commission agrees to have language in minimum number of committee meetings per quarter. And my suggestion is minimum 2.
Two.
So that's any discussion on that? Anyone not willing to meet 2 meetings?
I have concerns about 2 meetings. I mean, we're already meeting at that frequency. We've invested a tremendous amount of time and resources into the training and the support for the commission, and I worry about my own schedule's ability to accommodate that. So I think we maybe need to be more efficient and effective in the meetings that we do have, rather than add meetings ad hoc. However, I'm certainly open to us having a different committee chair that may have the ability to run meetings more frequently than I do. So certainly appreciate the enthusiasm for getting more work done, but personally find that limiting in the volunteer role here.
Does anyone have information about what our rules and regulations state currently? I don't have it in front of me in terms of, is there a minimum in there currently for the committee? And if not, I mean, a worst case scenario would be not meeting quarterly. Another potential compromise might also be, and I don't know how Tom, you would experience this, but 6 subcommittee meetings per year, which would end up being 1 in some quarters, a minimum of. That would allow for 2 per quarter in some quarters and 1 per quarter in other quarters is a possibility.
That sounds like a great idea, and it isn't currently spelled out in our rules and regulations that committees must meet at least once per quarter. I think that's just been something that we've verbally established. So, meeting.
So I think establishing that committees must meet once per quarter is very important. And maybe there's a room for adding a couple of additional meetings per year.
Yeah. We don't want to lose momentum.
Yeah. I think it's an appropriate step too, as we find work may pick up or may slow. Like you said, being able to have the flexibility to add those ad hoc meetings as needed. So we can definitely move forward with making sure that we have in the language, rules and regulations that we at least have the 1 meeting per quarter.
For the interest of time, I'm going to suggest that we move on to the next bit, since we're still in old business.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll table the
Yes, but thank you all
discussion.
for your
Okay.
input. This was a small change suggested by Councilwoman Spencer, also pertaining to the meetings portion of our rules and regulations, suggesting that in-person and online public comments will be recorded in Google Forms, explicitly stating that, as right now our in-person public comments are recorded via the meeting minutes, which are publicly available after they've been approved by the commission, but not stored in the same location as the online submitted public comments. and that if the Urban Forestry Commission has provided a response, will be noted in the Google form as well as the date of that response. To maintain transparency and so people can look back at each of the public comments and know that they've been addressed.
Can I just state something for the good of the order, is that we responded to 3 public comments thus far that just yesterday. So we need to update our Google form to reflect that. But I just wanted it noted in the minutes, please.
Thank you. Can I ask for clarification? Those were public comments that were submitted in writing that were responded to yesterday, or they were the verbal follow-up on verbal public comments, or which, both?
One was an online response to an online comment, and 2 were in person.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, everyone. Well, on to new business. I want to take a moment here. This is a very exciting moment, actually, where over the last few months, over the last actually 6 months to a year, we have been working on finding a youth appointee as outlined in the ordinance of establishment for Urban Forestry Commission. And we went through a review process where we had the opportunity to meet with some really incredible youth around the city of Cleveland. And we had the opportunity to interview this young lady, Janan Berard, who is now our new official youth mayoral appointee. She is a wonderful junior in high school, lifelong resident of the city of Cleveland, extremely passionate about the environment, and has demonstrated immense leadership in her various school activities and organizations. So I don't want to take the thunder away from you being able to introduce yourself to the commission, but we're very excited to have you here and have you appointed.
Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to meet everyone who's on the committee and grateful to everyone who showed up to give public comment today. I'm really excited to learn from you all and contribute in whatever way I can, and also, bring this information back to the youth of the city who I can hopefully connect to. As Chairman said, the environment and sustainability is something I'm really passionate about. I work on it a lot in various projects at school and a couple projects just kind of online around the country.
So we are very excited to have our new commissioner join us. We're really looking forward to what we know you will be an invaluable add to commission. Thank you for accepting the duty. Yeah. All right, well, moving on to the next line item, in the vein of commissioner member search. So we currently have several vacancies for commission. So we are in the process of receiving applications. We have received a very robust pool of applicants. We have about 23 so far, even more since I last checked early this morning, I feel like. And so we are currently looking at representatives to fill the slots for nonprofit developer that has worked in the city of Cleveland, where we have a vacancy in certified arborist, a resident position, and then we also are going to have a utility representative replace former commissioner Bernie. And so we actually extended the grant application timeline to January 17th. And so the executive committee of the commission is going to be meeting at the end of this week to begin to review applications so we can move forward with at least identifying who those potential top applicants are for commission, and then move forward in the process to interviewing folks. But I'm very excited. Again, like I said, we have a very robust pool of applicants to fill these commission slots. So I know that it will be absolutely easy to have a few wonderful folks join commission, but it's not going to be easy to select them. All right. So with that being said, are there any questions, just to pause here before, about the interviewing process?
I do. I have a question about the timeline. So the applications are due the 17th, and I know that I think 3 of those open seats go through a Cleveland City Council process. Is there a sense of when does the executive committee make recommendations to council? And then when would that be anticipated?
Yes, so we are going to review applications on Friday. The anticipation is to have that review process concluded over the next 2 weeks. So by the end of January, once we have identified who would fill those slots, so I would say that probably be like another week, then we make that recommendation to city council. So presumably following the timeline that we have right now, it would be about mid-February. We should be able to have those folks identified and then submit a formal appointment request to city council and to the mayor.
Thank you.
And to piggyback of that, Chair Malone, is that we're in the executive committee, we're planning to reach out to Council President Griffin and set up a meeting with him so that we can just explain a little bit
Yep.
about our process and the recommendations that we're making.
Would like to make sure I'm included in that meeting with the council president.
We can.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Are there any other questions? Well, if we do not have any other questions, I would love to turn things over to our subcommittee chairs. I would love to start off with Commissioner Lehman to provide an update on Maintenance Committee.
Will do. So we met twice during the quarter, and really both times were really the same themes. And one theme was really tree maintenance, and the other one was working on our maintenance committee charter. So on the tree maintenance side, we've really determined there is a need for education in the city. We've looked at like the city of Chicago on the website. They have maintenance education material. We also know the Western Reserve Land Conservancy, when they plant trees and they give the community, there's material that they pass out and share. So there's certainly some best practices that are out there that certainly we can adopt in the city of Cleveland. So that was one theme. And then Jennifer shared that approximately about 800 trees a year are being planted in the city with partners, et cetera.
I know that's true for 2025.
Yeah. So, so there's a need. Trees are going in the ground, and certainly some education would help in terms of their overall success. We did finalize the committee charter, and I won't read the whole thing, but there's some themes. One theme is that we're recommending care for trees, for care for trees at every stage of the life cycle, from early planting to the management of mature trees at the end of their lifespan. We also discussed to make sure that we follow in the recommendations or the guidelines of the rules that we have to follow as a commission. So we have to kind of limit our scope to some extent. And then part of our mission is also to engage with community members about the importance of healthy urban forest and recommendations for the maintenance thereof. So those are kind of like the themes that go along with it. And there was a lot of discussion on the charter, and we feel like that we have a good one for us to move forward with. That's it.
Thank you for that update. Let's go ahead and move forward with Commissioner Schreiber to provide an update on the policy subcommittee.
Hi, the policy subcommittee met last week on the 8th. Commissioner Kipp has already provided a great recap of our robust discussion around the Chapter 509 ordinance updates and the PROAG exceptions policy. We also devoted a good portion of the meeting to our committee charter, which is not final, but we seek to finalize shortly, potentially as early as our next committee meeting. Thanks.
Thank you for that update. And then I will turn things over to Commissioner Spencer to provide an update on the budget committee.
Okay, thank you. And I am going to round us out by making a pitch to our brand new commissioner. If you would like to learn more about the inner workings of city government and municipal budgeting, I invite you to join the budget committee. Uh, and I'll be following up with you with an invitation. But yes, we had a great budget committee meeting in December, right before the holidays, and it was there were kind of two main thrusts to the meeting. The first was to meet with the new Director of Parks and Recreation for the city, who joined us at our last commission meeting, Director Nichols, as well as Parks Maintenance and Properties Commissioner Toy Porch. And they discussed, they shared with us, along with Jennifer, what the recommendations are to the mayor, to the mayor's office, for the brand new division of urban forestry. So we had a real sense of how the new Parks and Recreation Director was positioning forestry, and I walked away feeling very confident in leadership's understanding of the importance of forestry as an operating part of the city's budget. However, since that time, those recommendations have gone to finance and presumably to the mayor's office, and sometime in the next few weeks, there will be a mayor's estimate that will be delivered to council. So I don't think we yet know what the ultimate outcome is, and with other competing priorities across the municipal budget, how the new division, the brand new division of urban forestry, will ultimately be budgeted. So I think the budget committee will want to keep a close eye on that. And to that end, I just, while we were sitting here, sent a quick note to council staff to ask when the mayor's estimate is expected. I think kind of striking that balance between needing to give 10 days notice, but also wanting to meet before budget hearings start. I think I would like to proceed to schedule another budget committee meeting for the beginning of February, so we can at least have that date on the books and hopefully be able to review what is in the mayor's estimate that council will then deliberate. Just for everyone's knowledge, most of the budget is well thought out, it's all well thought out by the time it comes to council. Some things are negotiated at the council table. So I think feedback from the budget committee will be very important heading into budget hearings. So I'll look forward to that. And really appreciate it. I know you did too, Jennifer. We all appreciated the director's time and the commissioner's time to come and meet with us and really walk us through the budgeting process from their perspective. The other thing the committee discussed is really this recurring theme that is going to be an important part of the work this year, which is, can we identify a long-term sustainable source of funding for a funding stream for urban forestry, and look at how other cities have done it. There are many, many recommendations for that in the tree plan, if I understand correctly. There's already recommendations, possibilities in there, and there were other ideas generated as well. So another major part of the budget committee's work will be to narrow down those recommendations and ultimately make a recommendation, ask this commission to make a recommendation to the mayor's administration about what we think could be a way to make sure that urban forestry activities are funded over time, and it's not a feast or famine cycle with funding. So those were sort of the two main themes of our budget committee meeting, and looking forward to future discussion.
Thank you so much for that update. And also thank you for that invitation to Commissioner
Yes.
to join. I would definitely love to see you get a chance to sit in and see the inner workings of each subcommittee to see really how the work is done.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Well, we're going to go ahead and turn things over to Secretary Zaremba to give an update on the commission's annual report.
And I don't have a formal slide for this one since we've kind of discussed it in advance. So this on the screen doesn't match what I am about to say. But each of the committees know and have been notified that we are working on an annual report to highlight some of the successes and accomplishments of the Urban Forestry Commission in accordance to our ordinance and the rules and regulations and duties that we need to fulfill. And so a lot of that will be highlighting some of the work before in establishing processes before the committees were established, but also looking at the accomplishments of the committees in this past year. And so I know each of the committees are working on charters currently. which will be included in the annual report since those reference key performance indicators and other successes that will continue tracking into the next year as well. So that'll be something that we can report out on the next quarterly meeting and something that each of the committees are working to help finalize.
Is there a deadline for us? Have we established like when we want to have our annual report completed by? I can't remember.
Yeah, I know that we were shooting for the end of this month, but after meeting with the policy committee, I know there's a little bit more deliberation that needs to happen at least there. And so I think early to mid-February is a more realistic deadline for that.
And we're waiting for the committee chairs to submit some of the stuff that they've been working on, like the charters and whatever content.
Yep. And
All
I
the
know I
wins.
saw some great things come through from Dan as well. So we'll just be working on compiling that all together in a format that's easy to read that we can share with the director of parks maintenance and anyone else who's interested.
The mayor.
And the mayor.
Council.
And council.
Great. Public. Okay, great. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think the executive committee thought it would make sense for the urban forestry division to provide an update at every meeting. And then also an update on the US Forest Service grant at every meeting. So you may have already read the slide, but I'll go through it anyway. So these are the things that our office is working on for the first quarter. So we've established regular meetings with Director Nichols. We're excited about new contracts. We're entering into new tree contracts. So we're going to have one dedicated for pruning only. We have updated that contract to now require, we used to say pruning under the supervision of a certified arborist. Now it has to be performed by a certified arborist. And if it can't be performed by a certified arborist, it has to be supervised by a board certified master arborist. So there were other changes made as well that we're really proud of and excited about. So, and then we have our, cloud-based work order management system. So we'll be able to get real-time updates from those vendors and contractors about the progress that they're making doing the tree work in the city. Operations, so we're looking at establishing our operations plan for spring 25 to spring 2026 and taking a look at our productivity, crew productivity and forester productivity, just re-engaging around that conversation. Our grants implementation, the US Forest Service grant is 5 years, so that's going to be going on until August 2029. The State Urban Forestry Grant, which is the SUFR, which I prefer to call it SURF because it's otherwise it sounds like, yeah, SURF sounds better. But we received money from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources Division of Forestry, and we've got a contractor going out to do some young tree training of as many trees as they can because we've planted trees and haven't even been able to perform one dose of young tree training. Our administrative manager, Kate Stanley, new to the team. I think most of you have already met her. She created a whole new online, or I'm sorry, not online, a PDF fillable portion or version of our permits, all of our tree permits, which will eventually be online. We have a spring tree planting. I think we're intending to plant maybe a few hundred trees with some funding that was identified in 2024. Our comprehensive divisional training program, which you'll be invited to our monthly trainings that we have. We're going to be tackling like one topic about arboriculture a month, like skills or tree biology or something that's kind of aligned with the certification material that ISA puts out, and then expanding our safety training program. Outreach, we have been riding along with agents of our 311 call center for the city and just taking them along with a forester so that they kind of understand like what the day-to-day work and role of a a forester in our division does. And the goal of that meeting is, cross-training so that the agents taking calls from residents or whomever can better vet the calls and give us really great, accurate information, set us up for success. We are in need of website updates. And we also reached out and are gonna do some PSAs and some other TV 20 spots down the road. So we're really excited about these first quarter initiatives. Next slide. Or wait, maybe I should, instead of going fast, are there any comments or questions about first quarter initiatives for the Division of Forestry?
I would love to ask about, I want to make sure I caught that information about what Kate Stanley is working on with permits.
Yes.
So what is the desired outcome with the permitting program?
Efficiency and quicker turnaround time.
So
Oh, yeah, go
the
ahead.
part about posting online, so I'm not sure, I just wanted to be clear. So we're posting the application online?
That's where we want to go. We still have to wait. That's going to be incorporated into our website updates that we're working on right now.
Okay.
But that's ideally, we would love to be able to just point everybody to our online permit. And it won't be Kate emailing Tom, for example, when Western Reserve Land Conservancy needs to plant trees.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question, is the current process right now where the fillable PDF gets sent directly to those who are inquiring? Okay,
Yes.
so it'll help streamline that process. Thank you.
I'm sorry, so can you explain what Kate is working on? I want to make sure I understood what you were
Yeah.
explaining.
Maybe it would help if I tell you how we used to issue permits. Okay, so it used to just be from this laptop and it was a Word document. And it would just be if somebody knew that they needed a permit, right? Just from word of mouth or what have you. And they would have to, there'd be a whole bunch of emails back and forth like, oh, Tom, you need also this information for the permit. And you need this other thing. And it was just like such an inefficient process for, me and the person applying for the permit. It was just creating a lot of extra barriers that didn't need to be there for someone who wanted to like plant and establish trees. So then our administrative manager came in and basically created one whole PDF document fillable for every tree permit you could imagine. So if it's a site development permit that requires a tree preservation plan, if it's a tree removal permit because Enbridge needs to remove a tree to put in a gas line, if, Western Reserve or any of the grant awardees for the Cleveland Tree Coalition, those awardees have come to us for tree planting permits, and it's all spelled out in that document. So they're able to give us exactly what we need right up front. I review it and then send them the approval or denial, with condition. But Tom, I'll invite you to speak on it if you have anything that I missed being on the other end of it.
No, just really grateful to have a, unified form. It's very clear, includes appendixes that spell out the city's requirements. So we're having a very good experience with it so far. Thank you.
Great. And then if I may, I had another brief question regarding spring tree planting. It's my understanding that was a kind of a pot of one-time funds that will be used to plant, but it's not a reinitiation of the city's overall street. At this time, we're not reinitiating our overall street tree planting program.
So that's capital dollars from 2024.
Okay.
That's funding the spring planting. And we're going to be putting the trees, filling those requests that we have already in the queue. So everyone who's been requesting trees, for 4 years, we're starting to try to fill them again, first come, first serve. I think our requests right now are 450. So we're planting 200. So we'll be looking to, our other partners to figure out, we have some upcoming conversations that we're going to have to see how do we get the trees, to those on those tree lawns in front of the house where we know people will take care of them. So we have conversations coming up with other stakeholders to try to get those trees in those homes sooner.
Okay, so this is a dollars that are going towards fulfilling street tree requests then?
Correct.
Okay, great. I will, because it's a capital budget question, I will also add that to upcoming budget committee discussions as well. So thank you.
You're welcome. No other questions? Okay.
Actually, I do have one more. I know that one challenge and concern with planting has been typically we plant and there's a warranty period, but there's not funding for maintenance. And so there's been when the city does planting as opposed to partner-led planting. So just, I was wondering if you had any comments about, because it's in the capital budget, we have money to do it. Any thought about the maintenance plan, or how that maintenance component might be addressed post-planting?
No, that's a great question, and thank you for it. So during my next meeting with Director Nichols, I just want to, one of the agenda items is to discuss what, maybe a new contract for maintenance services post-warranty, and figuring out like what that looks like. Like, we know in this room, like, what's ideal, right? But then what's gonna match with, because I'm not sure if the city can go into a contract for more than 1 year with a 1-year renewal. But ideally, we'd like to have maintenance of those trees years 3 to 7, right? Even longer. So those are conversations that we'll be having internally. But I agree, we need something to carry those trees beyond year 2, which is our current warranty. It's incredibly important. Thank you. I'll keep you posted and open to any suggestions.
I just had one question, because I know you made mention that you all are looking to identify potential residents who would be great stewards of the trees that are planted in their tree lawn. So is it also an expectation that they would be facilitating things like watering in the interim of figuring out what this additional potential like maintenance planning is for these newly planted trees?
Yeah, no, that's a great question too. So the good news is, if they requested a tree, they're in our system. That's like the 450. So we feel confident that if they want a tree, they will be good stewards. And then when the tree does get planted, then our division places a door hanger, just kind of giving them, just basics, like water it weekly, this much water, don't volcano mulch, things like that. But beyond that, beyond the door hanger, there's no ongoing kind of communication or check-ins. So that's important.
Yeah.
I do know that we have some folks who I've issued permits to for lawn tree planting, and they've got like a little pilot program for their street. And I'd love to like hear from them, because it seems like they are tapping into exactly what you're talking about, is that engagement.
Yeah. I was gonna say, maybe there's 2 pieces of this work that can exist, one in budget committee, one in maintenance committee, where we're taking a look at what are some of those partnerships that are out there. The first that comes to mind to me is Soil and Water Conservation District. I'm thinking immediately about like potential utility burdens for watering, right? So anything that we can provide resources to residents to be able to, at least they're taking on the responsibility of helping to steward and establish that tree, making that at least easier for them in the interim. So I would love for us to continue that discussion, but thank you for the update.
Yeah, great suggestions. Okay, yes. Next, okay, thank you. Thanks, Britt. Okay, so our U.S. Forest Service grant update, just a reminder, like the scope of the grant includes a public right-of-way inventory of trees and all vacant planting sites. The urban forestry management plan, it's a little misleading. It is not funded by the U.S. Forest Service. It's funded by the Cleveland Tree Coalition. I'm looking to you, Sarah. Thank you. Sarah Tilley is the director of Cleveland Tree Coalition in the audience. So we're excited about that. The Opportunity Corridor also is included in the grant scope, transformational maintenance along the Opportunity Corridor, targeted tree maintenance in CJUST census tracts. So CJUST is the Climate and Economic Justice Screening Tool, which identifies these census tracts in the city of Cleveland that have been historically disinvested and are disadvantaged. So that's where we're targeting all of the tree maintenance under this grant. Progress so far, our RFP was released January 2nd. Proposals are due February 10th. Our selection will be done in March. We have an internal review committee to review all the proposals we get. We hope for work of whoever the consultant team is, for that to start in the summer. And then additional progress is we had 3 of our divisional foresters complete the tree risk assessment training just last week, actually. So we're very excited about that. Fingers crossed they all pass. And then our other 2 foresters, we have 5 total. Our other 2 are attending track training in February. So there's some updates on our grant progress. Any questions on that?
I have a question, actually. So with the targeted tree maintenance in CJUS census tracts, have you all already begun to identify some of those census tracts? The first thing that comes to mind, of course, is the Cleveland Tree Plan and those identified neighborhoods that are extremely high priority due to a myriad of reasons. And do some of those neighborhoods fall in the priority areas that the city's identified?
Yes, absolutely. So so if we're talking about the Cleveland Tree Plan maps, those directly are linked to those census tracts that are in using the CJUS tool. And so part of the RFP is, whenever we get a chance to sit down with the consultant and just kind of build that framework for how they're going to collect the data in the way that we need it collected, there's going to be a portion where they have to let us know, like, how are you going to make sure that you're hitting the census tracts that need to be included?
Thank you.
Thanks for the question.
The 3.4 million US, it is the US Forest Service grant. I wanted to make sure I understood the correction that was made. Yes,
Yes,
3.4 million US Forest Service grant. Right.
correct. Okay, next slide.
All right, I am going to move on to this next topic on the City of Cleveland Climate Action Plan, which a lot of folks here have contributed to and provided their input on. This has been a really long process over a year, and is moving towards being almost completely finalized and publicly available at this point. But a little bit of an overview of what that timeline has looked like. We completed a climate risk and vulnerability assessment in 2023, and then the entirety of 2024 has been compiling different working groups of stakeholders and interested parties, people who have input, on different focus areas of the climate action plan, and working together to create goals, objectives, and actions that we can start implementing this year. And so we're at the point where we've finalized the climate action plan. It went out for public comment. That closed December 31st, 2024. And our decarbonization strategists and Brittany Montgomery have been working steadily to incorporate that public feedback for a final designed version, hopefully soon. But I just wanted to kind of give an overview of the work that many people in this commission, or who have stakes in this commission and the work that we do, have been involved in, and highlight some areas that the Urban Forestry Commission will play a role in terms of the implementation of the Climate Action Plan. So the top 3 goals under the nature-based solutions focus area, which is most directly related to the Urban Forestry Commission, as we are talking about increasing our tree canopy and urban forest in the city of Cleveland, and that's a large portion of nature-based solutions to address climate change, whether that's providing carbon sequestration benefits or the adaptation portion of addressing climate change, helping to address stormwater and heat issues in the city of Cleveland. So those top 3 goals within this focus area are enhancing the nature-based infrastructure to create a more resilient watershed. All residents live within a 10-minute walk of a safe, accessible, robust green space that supports an increasing tree canopy by 2045. And enhancing reuse and repurposing of organic materials to improve economic and environmental health. So there are actions and objectives under each of these goals that are relevant to trees and increasing the tree canopy, but I think under the second goal within this focus area, that contains the most actions that are going to be directly, that the Urban Forestry Commission will be directly providing support with implementing. But if you want to go to the next slide, that'd be great. realizing that's a little bit small to see, but I'm gonna go ahead and read that out. Under goal 2, objective, I can't remember which number this objective appears in the plan, but the objective by 2030, promoting the implementation of sustainable management of our urban forests and halting deforestation of our tree canopy. The actions under this that align nicely with the Urban Forestry Commission are assisting residents with tree planting and maintenance and caring for mature trees, coordinating with partners to establish a process for identifying and mitigating threats to forests from invasive species, and developing a framework to guide engagement among residents, community development corporation, their CDCs, and the Urban Forestry Division to promote cooperative decision-making around tree planting, maintenance, and removal. Are 3 actions that this commission, as well as other affiliated organizations like the Cleveland Tree Coalition, will be working together on implementing starting this year. So we're excited to be able to introduce the final designed version, but also equally as excited to hit the ground running with implementing some of these actions that have been identified as really large priorities by Cleveland residents, people who work in the city of Cleveland, and people who work on urban forestry in the city of Cleveland. So, any questions about the climate action planning process or any of these actions so far? I'm happy also to point you to the draft version that's on our website currently, but we'll be sure to, I'm sure everyone will know immediately as soon as the pretty design version comes out as well. All right, thank you.
Well,
Thanks so much for all your work on that, Anna.
Yes, I was gonna say
And the
no.
Mayor's Office of Sustainability. And everyone in this room who participated.
Right. I was gonna say no official feedback, but just excited to see the implementation of this be underway soon. So thank you so much for that update. And now we're gonna turn things over to our public comment section. So before we dive into public comment, I wanted to provide a few remarks on our processes. So all meetings of the commission are open to the public. Members of the public shall always conduct themselves appropriately or are prohibited from engaging in any conduct that is disruptive or distracting. Any persons wishing to participate in public comment portion must register their comment in advance of our meeting. We also have folks who have submitted, thank you so much, who have submitted public comment online. Any person seeking reasonable accommodations must make a request at least 3 business days in advance. All registration information is considered public record. So we do actually make public comments accessible because they are a part of our public record. And then also all of the speakers, so we can have no more than 10 speakers, and everyone has no longer than 3 minutes to make their public comment as record. So I just wanted to, again, top of the year, kind of reinforce our public comment policy. And then I would love to start off with those that we have here for in-person public comment to give room for that. So the first that we have is Michael Armstrong from Ward 15, and I'll open you to the floor to provide your public comment. Thank you.
Hi. The Cleveland Tree Coalition established a tree canopy goal of 30% by 2040 in Cleveland, 30%. And 30% is not codified anywhere under any city ordinance or legislation. It's a goal for Cleveland created by a suburban-led organization. It's not a goal the city initiated or is held responsible for attaining. The goal is important. I do believe that. And instead we're modernizing, focusing on modernizing Chapter 509. That's the priority because some parts of it are antiquated, no longer apply, or 100 years old. And yet there are 54 more chapters in the city code that deal with trees. 54 more chapters. Also, I do want to thank your executive committee for sending a response yesterday about my comments from the October quarterly meeting in regards to Council Legislation 521-2024, which established the new division of Urban Forestry and created the new Urban Forestry Commissioner position outlined in Chapter 133.12. So thank you for sharing that. And quote, you said, while we recognize it is within the purview of this commission to provide recommendations on policy plans, programs, or legislation concerning urban forestry management, sustainability, and protection of associated trees on public or private property, the UFC did not review or recommend revisions to the ordinance or role of the Urban Forestry Commissioner, unquote. If you had, however, made recommendations, that would have been a great opportunity to add attaining the 30% canopy goal as a responsibility as well. The legislation and law only says implement the city's tree canopy and nothing about a tree canopy goal or plan. So now we turn to a rewrite of Chapter 509 without updating 54 other chapters dealing with trees and no city-owned tree canopy goal or plan. So would you instead consider establishing a citywide tree canopy goal and plan codified and required by law, as opposed to referring to one written by the Cleveland Tree Coalition 10 years ago, and establish specific goals that guide a rewrite of city code, all 55 chapters that deal with trees before focusing only on Chapter 509. So in conclusion, let's work on an ordinance requiring a city-owned tree canopy plan with a tree canopy goal. The city code needs to be looked at holistically too, not just one piece. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, Mr. Armstrong. Okay, next we have Mr. Ephraim Abdullah. I would love to open you to the floor for public comment.
Okay. Is this working? Can you hear me? Or is it? Okay. All right. So my name is Ephraim Abdullah. I am the president for the 501c3 Africa House International. We've participated in the recycling, reuse, repurpose. So I'm looking at the agenda and some of the language that I'm hearing on, and it all just makes me real warm and fuzzy inside. I'm also on the Environmental Justice Community Advisory Board, which our main focus is tree canopies and air quality. So for the nonprofit that I'm with, Africa House International, we usually gather our YOU students for the summer and take them through gardens and teach them about the importance of being environmental stewards. And tuning into environmental stewards is very nice to see that you all have a youth commissioner, because they are the ones that we're giving the world to when we're finished with it. So even though I am a chairperson over the Africa House International, which is in the Huff community, I reside in East Cleveland around Forest Hill Parks, and I am actually the first East Clevelander to install a purple air monitor for healthy homes and air quality, because we didn't have any air monitoring systems to monitor our air quality. And it's something that we're promoting, and we're really reaching out for the students to become more aware. And there's an app with the purple Q that you can see what your air quality is, or where you can see things and monitor your microparticles 2.0 and smaller, that make sure that tree canopies are doing their thing. My wife, she owns a transportation company, and we're looking to do her vehicles over to do to join Mayor Bill alternative vehicle solutions for getting more vehicles, because we idle a lot when we go pick up students from school. So we're really working hard on this air quality, healthy homes, and tree canopy. I would love to, what I've seen in your urban forestry made me really happy. The capability to train residents and people that are in the community to understand trees and their health and the need for planting more trees. I'm just happy that this commission is here, and that would be my public comment. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abdullah, and my apology for the mispronunciation of your first name. And just want to make note that, thank you so much, Commissioner Spencer, for joining us. She has to leave a bit early. Thank you. And then do we have any online comments? Do you have access to them? Yeah, could you read the online comments? Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chair Malone. I will read 2 public comments we received. On December 3rd, 2024, this came from Mary Lou Brink, a resident of Ward 17. And Mary Lou comments, action needs taken on an easement tree at 17005 Greenwood Avenue. I've tried reaching out to Ms. Kipp and Councilman Slave several times the past few months with no reply. Imbalanced trimming 2 to 3 years ago, parenthetically, removed large limbs from the street side of the tree, end parentheses, has left much of the large oak's canopy weight on the, in quotes, house side of the tree, meaning strong winds, like this past August, could cause that old tree to come down on our house. We believe trimming needs to occur ASAP on the house side of the tree, eliminating some of the weight of the larger branches. If our assumption about physics, trees can fall in direction of most weight, is incorrect, please advise. It would be nice to simply get a response from someone regarding our concerns and have a discussion about possible solutions. Thank you. Next public comment came in December 11th. This is from Timothy Square, who made a note to say that he does not live, presumably those are the pronouns, does not live within the city of Cleveland. The public comment reads, Cleveland State is a large piece of downtown Cleveland. We need to be more connected and involved. And that's the end of the public comments online.
Thank you so much for providing the online public comments. Well, now moving us along, I'll wait till we have the deck. I think we should be fine though. Now moving us along to the end of our meeting, I would like to actually punctuate things here to see if there are any other comments or things to be raised by commissioners before I go into our closing remarks. All right. Well, again, thank you all so much for joining us today, both our commissioners, our visitors in person. Oh, there we go. Our visitors in person and our visitors online. Thank you so much for all of your contributions. Our next quarterly full commission meeting will take place Monday, April 8th from 4 p.m. to 5:30. And just some additional things to make note of. We have the Ohio Tree Care Conference that's going to be coming up the first week in February from the 4th to the 6th. And then we also have our ODNR Tree Commission Academy that is currently just had their year 1 class this afternoon, working to see if we can get some additional dates for that in summer for those who would like to attend, especially those of our new commissioners who will be joining on board. So we'll have more postings and updates as it comes. But with that being said, if there aren't any additional comments, I would love to make a motion to call this meeting to be adjourned.
On the motion?
A motion, all in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you so much.